People deluded. Now, obviously, Arsenal, depending on how you look at it, poor players on high wages, FFP, contract business, lot players on loan, players, the bit of everything's a mix and match. Depending on how you look at it, there's several ways to look at assessing our squad, how we trim it down, how we improve. We know there's a lot that needs to be done in regards to the playing squad to get us more competitive. But if I was two young players in Krystian Bielik, and he's not exactly young anymore, but 24-year-old, recently turned 24, happy belated, Callum Chambers. If I was them two, on the back of Unai Emery's comments, I'd actually be considering my future if I haven't already. Now, I'm not going to say anything new. You lot have known me. I've been saying this sort of thing for a while. But if you look at his comments in his press conference, he said we're looking. I can't remember it word for word, but he said we're looking for players. He said either a winger for the right or the left, and he said 2 centre halves or a couple of centre halves or something along them lines. I think I've said it in a previous vid. I think to a degree he might have been lost in translation, and not in terms of how he speaks, but in terms of what he actually meant. I do think we only want 1 centre half. If we get 2, then cool. But we just look at that. If you're young Callum Chambers, you're on loan to Fulham, you signed a new deal last summer, the manager was rating you at first and you went out on loan to play every week, so whatever's happened there has happened there, and you now hear this, you're not going to consider your future. Now, Callum Chambers, he's been at Arsenal for a while, he's probably made a lot of friends, he's still on loan in London, so he's probably at home here. I always see Rob Holding putting his girlfriend up on Instagram, so I don't know if he's moved in with his girl now, but we did learn at one point that him and Chambers were housemates and stuff like that. So he could find that cool. But is it really, if your manager's saying he wants to look at 2 centre halves, definitely 1 for now, and then you already look at on paper, there's still Mavropanos, who, like you, put in a good performance at Old Trafford last year. There's obviously still Koscielny, he's contracted until 2020, should ideally be moved on this summer, but he's still here on paper. There's Mustafi, who a decision's going to have to be made. There's Socrates, who's getting on a bit. I'm probably missing out other people, but there's Monreal, who could technically be played there and is probably considered to play there long before you. Even Xhaka's been thrown there, so you could say him, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing out a couple of the other playing staff in it, people. But you get the point. There's many options. Now you throw them into the mix. In Bielik, who is 21 years of age, he's made 20 odd appearances in League One for Charlton this season, and he's having a good career. But if you look at him compared to the others, does he really believe he can get ahead of them? I believe, if I was him, I believe I could, but would you really want to wait? Like I said, he's 21, he arrived here 17, 18, converted into a centre-half, still yet to make his official debut in any capacity. In fact, I'm lying because I'm so sure he played against Sheffield Wednesday, but he hasn't been given a real look in. Now he's highly rated and he has had issues with injuries and things like that, and he still needs to improve, but they're at a bit of a weird age now in that I can see positions opening up for them two in the next 18 months and a couple others, because Socrates is 31, he's getting on a bit. Koscielny's still here on paper. Mustafi has to be moved on. So it'll probably take us a season and a bit. So if it was from our point of view, probably loan them both out again. Or in fact, I would keep Chambers for depth purposes like you're seeing now. But for them, would it be feasible if your manager said that? If you hear the fans saying they need a new centre-half, I'd believe in my ability, but do you believe you're going to play week in, week out under this manager? Because they must be in constant dialogue, or something must have been said to make Unai Emery change his tune on Chambers, because he was talking him up highly at the start, then he went out on loan. Now, if you're Chambers as well, like I said, you've played 24 times, you've played good in some big games against Spurs, against Chelsea, against Liverpool where your team was unlucky. Who else did they play well against? I'm missing someone else out. Who have I got written down? I can't even remember, but he's played against 3 of the top 6. He's played very well in. Now, it wasn't plain sailing at the start of his loan. Not just him. You look at Fosu Mensah. You look at newly signed Alfie Mawson. That centre half and Odoi. The centre half whole situation, or the whole back line with Fulham, was all over the place. But since then, he's been playing at centre half and excelling. He's been playing in defensive mid and excelling. These could potentially be of use to the squad at Arsenal. Now, if you was to name your best team at Arsenal, Chambers probably doesn't get in there. So realistically, at 24, how many games do you think you could play? This should, whether you believe in Chambers or not, but he's 24 playing week in, week out. I would want to keep doing that next season. I wouldn't want to wait on the random Carling Cup or players being injured or rotation to get a look in. I'd want to stay at Arsenal because it's a more competitive side than Fulham. Fulham might as even go down. But I'd consider this. How many games am I going to get? From a manager's point of view, Unai Emery should be probably relishing bringing Chambers in, because he's not a right back, but he can be used there. Clearly a centre half. Debatable, which we just said. done his thing in defensive mid. So if we're not going to sign another defensive mid, he could probably help him and Terrell could shut games out, and things like that. But there's a lot for him to consider at this age. Do you want to go back to Arsenal and have to really wait for your time? It's a lot to consider. He's made 83 appearances for Arsenal, which isn't that much when you think about it. And he's played 110 times in the Premier League, spread out between Middlesbrough, us, and probably Borough as well, and now Fulham. So would you not want to see that increase? Have you got time to sit on the bench? And then back to Bielik's situation, we've already talked about the sheer depth in numbers at this club, and things like that. He's 21 years of age, like I've said. Like, he's 21, it's time to play football. He's still young, but it's time to play football. Do you really want to go from playing 22 times to... He's not even going to get that yet, but possibly just being in the first team squad, but not really in it, in that you're not playing and you're playing for the under-23s. Him, similar to Benassia, when Benassia left, he doesn't want to play under-23s football because you're not learning there anymore. Does he really want to go back to that? It would probably be best for him to depart the club, and he's contracted until 2020. Now, I believe both could serve some capacity into the squad, similar to Chambers, can play in midfield as well. I think one thing that kind of that is against Bielik is, again, he's still young and developing. Concentration is key. I still remember him getting his another opportunity playing at right back against Lens. Concentration letting down for one of the goals we conceded. Concentration for a centre half off the ball and things like that. At 21, you kind of need that. Maybe Emery doesn't concede that you're ready, or doesn't want to wait and develop you, because we've also got other young players within the side. But there's that. He's a lovely ball player, but he's still, because of under-23 football where you enjoy it a bit too much, he probably loses his head at times and tries to do a bit too much. It's nice to have bravery, and I don't want that coached out of his game. Bringing out from the back is very important, but balance. He's still working on a lot of stuff, because yes, I said he's played 22 times this season, but on the grand scheme of things, if we look, how much experience as a professional footballer does he have? And it's been knocked back a bit because of the injuries. Like, if I bring up how many games he's actually played, in the Championship, he's played 10 games. He had a good spell at Birmingham. We need to remember his potential is there. In League One, he's played 21 times. So he's got 31 appearances within the professional game now. He's got 5 in his homeland, and things like that. But really and truly, is that enough? Is this really enough as a professional footballer? So you're going with that. Someone who's still developing. You're seeing soccer artists brought into the club and will feature next year. We need another centre-half regardless. Obviously, you've got Koscielny on paper, you've got Mustafi on paper, you've got Monreal on paper who can alternate between left-back and centre-half. You've got Mavropanos, you've got several talents and things like that. So maybe maybe it's time to move on and go somewhere you're going to play football and play week in, week out. I'd want to keep him. I know I actually wasn't planning on talking about him because he's not on loan at this moment in time. But if we look at Ben Sheaf, I rate him a lot, man. So did Wenger. I think he's one of them. He's going to have a good career, and I think he could progress into a good squad role at Arsenal as well and gain time. He's a jack of all trades at times. He can play midfield, and he's got a lovely pass. He can play at centre half and was moulded there. He can fill in that fullback. But he's 20 years of age now. He's still young. But is it time to progress and go and play football? Now, he went on loan to Stevenage. I didn't agree with that loan. Arsenal have had an issue when it comes to picking loans, but what do I know? I'm just speculating. But does he go and play football? I think he's played very well under 23 levels, but considering the injuries we've had at centre half and things like that, did he get a look in? No, he didn't. You've seen Medley and Pegler also make debuts. Now, Peggy, I know Lomberg wants to keep him, but he probably... I love all young players to get chances in the first team, but if you're not going to get a realistic chance or a realistic shot, you need to move on. So if he's not really getting a chance, and Medley's 1890, so he's got a bit of time, and Medley's rated ahead of him. Do you not think it's time to move on a bit? Because like I said, he's 20 now. When does he turn 21? He turns 21 in February, so he'll be 21. So it's probably time to leave the academy setup and things like that, and go and progress and play football. So it's probably something to do with him. He's made 2 appearances for Arsenal, one in the Europa League and one, I think, when Bielik made his as well. He's played 10 times for Stevenage. I didn't agree with that loan. He's another one I feel can progress into first team, but I think what people forget is you probably need to give young players at times 18 months or allow them, whether it don't make sense, but to make up 18 months of development. And I'm not talking playing. What I mean by that is you look at squad cycles happen in 3 years. If you look at Arsenal now, we need a rebuild. A couple of our players are getting on a bit, but by that same logic, Emery might deem them good enough to stay. For instance, Koscielny, bad example, but let's deem Koscielny. Let's say Koscielny keeps playing to this good standard that let's just say Chelsea was a marker and he keeps playing to that standard, people. All right, cool. He's contracted until 2020. So the thingy will come where you have to move him on. But just say we concede, all right, cool. This season, well, next season we'll run with him for one more. But we believe in Sheaf, etc., and all the targets I've said, and we loan them out one more time to come into the team next season for when Koscielny will be done. Things like that need to happen on a regular basis. But that's good for the club. It's not necessarily good for the players. And if I'm honest, as much as I like these players, and I know they probably love being at Arsenal and they've built friends, and I mean, it's a fantastic club, but I want to see them become the best professional footballers they can be. All three, I believe, can have good careers. But it's not going to happen just aimlessly coming back for pre-season. You know, when it's a bunch of players at pre-season with a bunch of squad numbers, and as the pre-season goes on, they're farmed out either permanently or on loan. It must get boring of not just these lot, just players in general at clubs. The continuous cycle of, I don't know, being owned to Chelsea, being a Chelsea player but not being a Chelsea player, in that you play your season away, you come back, you do pre-season, you say hi, you go on the tours and stuff like that, and then you're loaned out again. It's a model that footballers find themselves on, and it's almost a rat wheel, a hamster wheel sorts, and people need to get themselves out of it quicker than usual. That's why I rate Benassia, because Benassia didn't want to wait for Arsenal, and now he's being linked with Napoli and things like that. Or Daniel Marlin, for whatever reason he left, now you're seeing him play at the Nou Camp and things like that. Even Gnabry, Wenger was out here talking about loaning Gnabry to Charlton. Now he's at not Birmingham, sorry, it'd be great if he was at Birmingham, but he's at Bayern Munich. You get the point. It's similar to Jeffrey Adelaide. Like, I don't think, clearly Unai didn't rate him in the slightest, but Jeffrey Adelaide kind of hinted that the chances aren't going to come. So rather than aimlessly stay and think, okay, I can make a time at Arsenal, let me move. Because if Wenger was here, he probably would have got a chance, even though he didn't really give him many. But yeah. So in short, people, if I was just, I know I said Ben Sheaf towards the end that you can include him, but if I was Bielik and Chambers in particular, I'd be considering my future, or just thinking, all right, cool, it's time to make a tough decision on my career or the next few years, because you like to think soon they've got to set up shop now. You've got to be somewhere stable for the next couple of years. Chambers is 26 in 2 years, where you should be in your peak. Do you really still want to be a squad player at Arsenal or in and out the side? Bielik's contracted until 2020, so I don't know the club's plans for him, but does he really want to go out on loan again? I think he said he'd be open to it, but don't you want to find again? I'm not belittling the loan spell. There's reasons for it, but by the same token, do you not consider somewhere else, setting up shop somewhere, a senior team that's going to give you chances and believe in you where you're playing at a higher level? There's a lot for them to consider, because you'd like to think Chambers, whether you rate him or not, because of how he's been playing this season, has got some admirers from other Premier League sides or prospective promoted sides, and you'd like to think 20 million, 15, 20 million. I know Arsenal will probably get 3.5 million in a packet of crisps for Chambers, but considering he signed a new deal and his form, should be able to get a decent fee for him and use that for other signings. Now, there's another flip token of it. Do you concede to sell Chambers, Bielik, a couple others in the summer, and then just use that money or freed up wages to go in other areas? Only the club know. But in regards to me, I'm tired now, people. This is my third video I've been recording, so I'm going to get out of your hair, people. People, deluded, stay safe, stay deluded. I'm out.